Welcome to Lock Pod.
You're looking good.
Belgian.
You got one headphone on.
This is how I do every week.
Your hair looks great.
This is Navy.
Thank you.
Navy.
See, this is a bad situation that just happened. I got to talk about it. So, we're in Kevin's office, right?
Headphones look ridiculous.
Good morning, everybody.
They are
Good
a little
morning.
more extremely diagonal than usual.
What are you talking about? I wear it like this every week.
No,
I don't think, not that extreme.
Yes.
You get a
Anyway,
close-up
I'm
on
sure
Tom
everybody's
here.
really interested in this, right? I see our members, our live audience dropping already. So I come to the studio. It's freezing in the region. Okay,
0 today.
Right.
Zero. When
it was
I woke
literally
up.
0 when I walked in. So I got a hat on, and my hair is super long right now, so it's all jacked up, right? And I'm on, and I put my headphones on, and I'm like, man, I should go to the bathroom and
Well, you asked Lindsay, and she's like, yes.
Dad.
Yeah.
Welcome
She's
back, Linz, by the way.
By the way, notorious LMP. Welcome to season 5.
I'm here.
Happy New Year.
Thanks.
So
Happy
Linz
New
is
Year.
like, Dad,
Oh,
your
yeah.
hair is too long. Go wet it down before the show. So I'm like, okay, daughter, thank you very much. So I go to the
That's
bathroom.
my job.
It's like a public bathroom,
Sure.
in Kevin's office. You have to have a key to get in. So there's limited amount of culprits that could have done this.
Well,
But
it's in the hallway.
It's in the hallway. You need a key to get in.
There's a lot of
You
people
can't
coming
just
and
be
going.
like a bum off the street walking.
No.
Right?
True.
Nope.
It is not
It's not
like a bus
public.
station. It's not a bus station.
It's not a bus station. So I'm expecting a certain. This is a law office, for God's sakes. There's Dennis over here, law office.
It's a busy place. in
So
the
I'm
morning.
expecting high quality, obviously. Okay. So I walk in, and let
You
me
should
just
never-
tell
you
you,
should never expect high quality.
it was like the scene of a murder when I walked in. The smell was, you could taste it. It was like when I walked in.
Stop. It's
So I'm
morning.
like-
everyone's
so-
getting up having breakfast.
So I'm like, okay.
Matter of fact,
I am-
I see Ryan eating breakfast right
yeah.
now.
So I'm like, I got to get water on my hair and I got the hell out of here, right? Because it's bad, right? So I'm like throwing water on my head, and then the door opens. And it's like a dentist or something.
it's a
walks
busy
in.
place.
And he walks in, and I could tell he was like, okay, this guy's just using the sink. And then the guy sat there for 10 seconds thinking, holy Toledo,
Holy
this
Toledo.
place is blown up. And then he looks at me and he's like, I'll just come back later. And he leaves. And I'm like, what the? Totally implicated. And it wasn't me. That's the worst part.
Maybe.
Phantom
That's how.
Pooper.
This is
That's,
gonna be a
that's how your day. This
This
is how
could be a
your day's
shitty day.
gonna
I
go.
can tell already.
No
right
pun
off the
in- no
bat.
pun intended.
Right off the bat. I'm implicated, and there's some other culprit in this building right now
See?
that did it.
it's like
There's many
story.
people here.
It is like the elevator story.
Oh.
It is. I got in trouble for
And
the
you got in
elevator.
trouble for that
But that
one.
was in print. This is actually just verbal.
This is just,
Yeah, don't
this is
tweet
just
this.
You can't
recorded
retweet
forever.
this. You
No.
can't retweet my
This is-
my words.
As soon as your words came out, they're gone forever. I don't think anybody could ever listen to this again.
Season 5, episode 2. We got a great guest today, Ryan Mears, the Marion County
Yeah,
Prosecutor.
that's going to be fun. He's going to be on probably a little bit after the top of the hour.
But
So we're gonna
I'm
get
looking
him on.
at him right now, and
Oh.
yeah, I can see him on Skype. You guys can't.
This
though,
is the
so.
whole.
Hey Ryan, what's
this
up?
is the whole magic of what we're going to do today. You don't give away the
Oh, my bad.
studio.
Well, I mean, he is going to be a great guest. We're
Yeah,
going
he
to talk
is.
a lot, and it's been an interesting couple days here where we live in Northwest Indiana. We're going to probably talk a little bit about that. But something happened that we talked about in previous season. I think it was season 4 when we talked about Smash Mouth. Do you remember, Lindsay?
Oh, we did.
Nope.
Yes,
The band, Smash
yes.
Mouth?
Maybe it was a Jill day.
Must have been. John, do you remember when that was last season? I'm pretty sure.
For
I
sure it
know
was
we
last
talked
season.
about them at some point, but my brain's mush. So.
Really? Well, you would remember this because, first off, Kevin and I know these guys. We met them. They played Hammond opening for Sugar Ray.
A while. I want to say a decade ago.
Yeah,
Probably.
And they opened for Sugar Ray.
Yeah,
on
they were good.
one of the nights at the fest. That was a good
seemed
night.
normal.
They were great guys. I liked them actually as people, right? Well, sometimes fame gets the better of these superstars like that. And the lead singer about a month ago or a couple months ago was doing Nazi salutes to the crowd during his concert. He was telling them to go F themselves.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was insane. And there was a lady that went to the concert that tweeted it, and it went viral, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Smash Mouth lead singer retired.
That was it.
That was
the
it.
End of, that was the end of
So it's
Steve
like,
Harwell
"Hey,
and Smash Mouth.
Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on. That one?
Yeah,
No more. They retired,
Good.
right? Until New Year's Rockin' Eve in at Hard Rock Casino, Northern Indiana. Smash Mouth, the lead singer, or the main act for New Year's Eve.
They
New Year's
came out of
Rockin' Eve.
retirement.
But they
for
didn't
a-
bring.
For
Was
Gary.
Harwell there with them? No. It
No.
been, it was like the.
They went like backup lead singer.
Wow.
So you got band that was already like opener a decade ago with a backup lead singer. I just thought that was dropping
And I think
down.
you know what the weirdest thing also was about that is because Sugar Ray was supposed to play.
There's got to be a connection between Smash Mouth
Right?
and Sugar Ray. They must have the same agent. or
Right? They're like,
something.
oh, you can't. Sugar Ray's not coming, but we can get you Smash Mouth.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like your go-to. Oh, you're in the market for Sugar Ray? Well, it's a big step down, but because I'm a big fan of Sugar Ray. By the way.
Wow.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
You didn't meet Mark when he
Yes, he was
He's
phenomenal.
a lovely man.
right? He is like a politician to me. He's a guy that could run for office, and he was a great guy. I loved him. He played a couple times.
Hung
in
out, phenomenal, really
But-
nice guy.
But there's a connection between Smash Mouth and Sugar Ray
Without a doubt.
professionally,
Without
because
a
it seems like whenever Sugar Ray falls through, Smash Mouth is there to sweep up. You know?
I wonder if Hard Rock knew that it was the lead singer less Smash Mouth version.
Dude, I don't know.
Why would you want to hire the band with the lead singer?
Well, maybe it's like a
after
last
all that?
second. Like, who are you going to get on a fly when
You
Sugar
could
Ray
get a
says, I
local
got
band.
COVID?
We got great local bands.
True.
I mean, why not get a local band? You're better off. You got the 2 months ago, Smash Mouth was giving Nazi salutes to the audience, and now they're playing in Gary.
Welcome to Northern Indiana.
What the hell is going
my
on?
God.
Right?
You can't write this, folks. That's the region. By the way, let's do some quick ads of
Yeah.
our premier sponsors.
Why don't we do a few of them, and then because the next story we're going to hit is going to be probably a couple minutes, and
All
then
right.
is that all right, Kev?
Yeah, let's do them.
Let's go ahead. We'll fly through the first round.
Making
Go
last-minute
right ahead.
decisions.
Me.
Okay.
Our premier sponsor. Thank you to Powering America.
Pow.
Thank you. There you go, John.
That was
You're
better.
on, man.
That was better.
Took 2 episodes, but we're on. Premier sponsor of Lockbot is Powering America. Season 5 is powered by Powering America. With the explosive growth of renewable energy in America today, call Powering America to meet your needs. For renewable energy in your home or office, including electric vehicle chargers and solar-powered solutions, trust the electrical professionals of
Powering America.
POW. Visit poweringnorthwestindiana.org.
Pow.
Tortillas Nuevo Leon. Tortillas Nuevo Leon is the gold standard of Mexican cuisine throughout the Midwest. Look for Tortillas Nuevo Leon's popular red and white label at your local grocery store and enjoy quality Mexican products made with local expertise.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón.
That song's going to get on the Billboard Top 100 this year. I feel it
Nice.
Ooh,
Yeah,
there's
Eli.
a prediction.
in my bones.
Lindsay's 2022 predictions.
I smuggled Tortillas Nuevo Leon into Mexico. How
I
many
heard.
people do that. I know. I left the bag laying around, just
Their
like trying
famous red and white label.
to. If
You're
they
like,
take off in Cancun, it's all
it's
me.
because of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Tri Electronics wants to be your complete communications provider. Tri Electronics has been a leader in this industry for more than 55 years, and they're dedicated to assisting their clients with their systems integration needs. They have the expertise and experience to provide superior results for a wide variety of projects. For more information, call Tri Electronics today at 800-722-6793.
Byway Brewing. Byway Brewing is a family-friendly microbrewery with a spacious tap room and an outside patio. Brewing equipment offers a unique backdrop for your private event, like weddings, reunions, and corporate parties. We are conveniently located just off of 8094 at the Kennedy Avenue South exit. Come on by and enjoy Byway's award-winning beers and unbeatable menu.
Had the OG burger the other day.
Oh, that's so good.
The original gangster.
Yeah, that's me.
Everybody
See how that
just
didn't
busts
come
out.
off very well?
That's me, guys.
That's me.
Everybody just starts laughing.
2 days
I
ago,
did
he
have
was
the burger.
I'm the original gangster.
man, like pushing up his glasses.
Yes. Some things I just can't pull off. All right.
That was funny.
Your pen protector. In your
Yes,
pocket.
I gotta pull that away. Misprint Printing. Misprint specializes in delivering the highest quality signs and printing on time and within budget. Misprint's experience and technology allows them to offer custom commercial on-demand printing and sign solutions you can count on. Rick Balzenberger and his team have served Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana for over 30 years. Misprint has 2 convenient locations in Munster and Hammond.
This next story is unfortunate, and it's. I know Ryan's in waiting right now in queue, waiting to come on. It's going to be interesting to have a Marion County prosecutor on after this next story that we're talking about. It involves a friend of mine, a friend of the show. He's been on before as a guest, and unfortunately, he's dealing with a legal issue right now that threatens his career. We're talking about Lake County Sheriff Oscar Martinez. I've never seen anything like this before. But first off, I've never really even heard about a state grand jury meeting, and I heard last week that there was a state grand jury meting.
Yeah,
Doesn't happen often, right, Kev?
It doesn't happen. Okay, so little background here, right, on informations and indictments in federal court. The statutory way to get charges against somebody is by grand jury through indictment. In other
Right.
words, it's unusual to do it by way of information, which is just the prosecutor writes up the charges and then charges you. In state court, it's almost always by way of information, where you just,
Right.
the police take the charges down,
Right.
prosecutor writes them up,
That's right.
and you charge them. But I can tell you this, at least in Lake County, and it'll be interesting, like you said, when we talk to Ryan, the prosecutor will take charges that they feel could go either way. Like, they're not going to charge them, but let's take them in front of a grand jury to see if the grand jury charges them.
Right.
That's what happened
And
here.
in this case, I imagine Bernie Carter, who's the Lake County prosecutor, feels conflicted because it involves
Absolutely.
a Lake County commissioner, who we're going to talk about down the road a little bit, and the Lake County sheriff. And I imagine Bernie Carter knows and works with both of them.
Yeah,
So
I would
he's
think
in a no-win situation.
Well, you got to remember, the Lake County sheriff and his officers bring charges to the Lake County prosecutor.
Right,
So
right.
I would imagine right away he's going to
True.
recuse himself. He named a special prosecutor, Lefko. I think he's from LaPorte County, if I'm not mistaken. Ryan probably
So we have a
know.
special prosecutor
Yep.
who's independent and like not related to anybody, basically doesn't work with anybody, and he could look at the facts objectively, basically, which is the purpose of a special prosecutor. Comes in. This is about a traffic violation. It's a felony. They're charging him with a felony for resisting law enforcement, basically fleeing from a police car.
Yeah, if you
We're talking about the Lake County sheriff, who's the top cop in Lake County,
in a police car fleeing from another police
in
car.
an unmarked police car, fleeing from. So this is, a weird situation, but it's a felony. And in Indiana,
Yeah, the reason it's a felony is because if you take off on a police car after they've announced that they're the police and you're in a vehicle, that changes it from a misdemeanor to a felony.
Sheriff Martinez categorically denies all allegations. Said the allegations against him don't prevent him currently from holding office and continuing to perform his duties. This is Sheriff Martinez's statement. The allegations were initiated by a rival politician who has publicly demonstrated his disdain for me and the work I do for the people of Lake County, Martinez said. As this matter unfolds, it will come to light that this is nothing more than a political witch hunt. And let's just be honest. I mean, everybody that knows anything that has better than a kindergarten education in politics in Lake County knows that Lake County Commissioner Mike Ripe of Hammond and Sheriff Oscar Martinez, the Lake County Sheriff, these two used to be best friends, Kevin?
They were very close. I know that.
I don't know if they're best friends, but families vacation together.
I know they were very close. I mean, I remember back when Oscar was elected, Commissioner Mike and they kind of helped set it. I think Mike helped him set up his headquarters in Hammond.
Commissioner Mike brought us into Oscar's campaign.
Yeah, for sure.
Mike was there. Mike was sort of the campaign advisor. I don't
Yeah.
want to say he was the campaign manager.
I want to say I would call him instrumental in helping Oscar
And
get
Mike's
elected.
family was with Oscar's family, and the two families were working together. And it was like we were the outsiders coming into a campaign.
They were
to help
rolling.
the sheriff. By the way, and I love the sheriff. I always have liked Oscar. So for me, it was easy because I wanted to help him, right? But like we came into this fold where Commissioner Mike and Oscar were
rolling
and buddies and
Yeah.
co-conspirators, so to speak, as far as like they worked together on campaigns and they saw the world, similarly. Mm-hmm. And over the years, these two their friendship has devolved into.
Yeah, it's been unfortunate. I mean, because it's hard to see people that you feel get along all of a sudden not get along once they're kind of in their respective positions in government, right? And they haven't. I mean, and if you looked at the Post-Tribune today, there's actually a quote from Commissioner Ripe that said the most important part is that the indictment is not the sad day. The sad day occurred when the sheriff thought he was above the law. That's what Commissioner Ripe
So, like
said.
in the Times, which was the first with the story, the Times comes out and they're not naming the quote-unquote rival politician that the sheriff's talking about. The Post, Mike Ripe gave a full quote to the Post,
Yeah, he
basically
did.
piling on. And funny enough, out of that whole article, the only negative comment towards the sheriff was from Commissioner Ripe.
Yeah,
Everybody else was like, I got quoted in that one, and I said, I think he's a fabulous sheriff, and I hope this issue works itself out. That was my quote. It was interesting to see people, Ted Bilski, another, good elected official in Northwest Indiana, was like, I think Sheriff Martinez is an excellent sheriff, and and then the only negative comment towards him was from the Lake County Commissioner, Mike.
It's obvious that they don't get along, and it's
Obvious. It's a difference between trying to ruin somebody's life and opposing them politically, right?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, the charges are going to have to be answered to, and the sheriff's going to defend him. And he says he's got a very good lawyer. Paul Strachey's a great lawyer.
Yep.
I think they seem to be defensible to me when I just read through it. But of course, I wasn't in the grand jury room, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And really, the interesting thing to me is going to be, does Mr. Strachey get this case to trial and resolve before the primary?
So first off, if Oscar's convicted of a felony,
That's the end of that.
He loses his office automatically in Indiana. Okay. Now, this is what the Crown Point police who were involved in this says. All right. Crown Point police say officers were conducting a traffic stop in the 9,000 block of Taft Street when a black SUV traveling north on Main Street was going at a high rate of speed, well above the 45-mile-an-hour posted limit. The SUV's driver, who we find out is going to be the sheriff, continued at that speed onto Taft Street and passed by the stopped officers. The officers attempted to catch up to the SUV to stop the driver for speeding. The SUV was observed making a right-hand turn onto US 30 traveling east as officers were nearing the still-moving car. So they're like coming after him.
Sure.
He's way ahead of them, and they're coming after him at a higher rate of speed. And as officers were nearing the still-moving car, they're all moving, the driver activated emergency red and blue lights. So the sheriff...
Meaning who?
The sheriff.
Crown Point?
No, the sheriff says, hey...
Right.
I'm a police officer.
Okay,
like,
that's
so
kind of like a...
It's a code.
Unwritten rule.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I know for a fact, I'm a mayor, I work with police officers all the time. This is what they do when they're getting pulled over in unmarked cars. They're like, hey, by the way, I'm on the job, right? It's like a, boop, hey... You're pulling over a cop.
Or, hey, by the way, I'm a police officer.
Yeah, you're pulling over
Maybe
a
you're not
cop.
on the
And
job, but you're
usually
a police
when that
officer.
happens, the officer that's pulling over the other officer goes, oh, my bad. You're in an unmarked car. I didn't realize that. Okay? That's usually what happens. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not defending it. But this is an officer tradition. I mean, is that the right word?
Unwritten rule?
Yeah.
You know?
You don't pull over fellow officers. I mean, that's a fact, guys. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, and I'm not a police officer. I get pulled over in Hammond by a Hammond cop. I pulled over, and I did, and I posted it on Facebook, actually.
You would think there's like some courtesy, right? Like, oh, all right,
That's
it's a police
courtesy.
officer.
Courtesy, that's the
yeah,
word.
Sure.
It's a courtesy.
Professional courtesy or something. Like, oh, it's an officer. All right, he's going, whatever. I'll let him go. But these guys...
So as officers were nearing the still-moving car, the driver activated emergency red and blue lights, giving notice that it was an unmarked car. And seeing this, the officers, Crown Point officers, disregarded their actions any further.
Really?
That's what it says. That's a Crown Point police statement. So like, you didn't pull him over. You didn't, like, take his license. You didn't, like, have to chase him. He activated his lights. You terminated at that point.
Yeah, it'll be
how
interesting
is that
this
a
plays
felony,
out.
man?
Well, I think the issue is right there is, to me, is, and I'm sure Paul Strachey's, I mean, he's a much better criminal defense lawyer than I ever was or will be, and that is that the question is when if that's the case, if those are the facts, the question is, did that then become resisting at that moment when the Crown Point officers backed off? I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. If they continue to chase and he continues to run, I think at that point it's fleeing. But he activates his lights. The Crown Point cops are like, oh, my bad. That's a police car. They terminate at that point. And then it's a couple months later when, by the way, the day Sheriff Martinez files for re-election, oh, by the way, we're charging you with a felony.
Yeah. I mean, I
The
don't
day
know.
he files to run for re-election.
I mean, sometimes the timing of that, I mean, I'm sure they scheduled the grand jury whenever. I mean, it's weird timing, I agree, but I don't think the
it reeks of politics.
I don't think
it
like
reeks of vengeance, retribution. It reeks of politics.
I don't
to me.
think the 18 or 21 people that are on the grand jury are like, oh, it's time to file. Let's bring our indictment down today.
Okay, so you don't think this reeks of politics?
No, I think there's a political element to it for sure. But I think I don't want to disparage the grand jurors or the special prosecutor who I think were doing their job. Now, I think it seems to me that there's definitely a political element to this. In like how it got brought to the grand jury potentially, or what's going to happen. It's going to play out. And I think Oscar's doing a good job on getting into the paper his perspective. I think he's doing a great job doing it.
Let's read before we'll knock off after this statement, if you don't mind.
Yeah, then
Paul
we'll do some ads.
Paul Strachey has, and we'll do some ads, and then we'll get into Ryan Mears, and I'd love to hear Ryan's perspective.
It's going to be interesting. It was good timing.
It is good timing. This is Martinez attorney, Paul Strachey. He's a great attorney. He has his own law firm. It's right there on 231 in Broadway. If you're ever charged with a crime, he's a good option for you. Said he was. It's true.
Yeah.
He's a great lawyer.
We got a lot of friends in the criminal defense area.
I know.
Paul
I agree.
Strachey,
Paul Strachey's.
Johnny Law. They're all out there.
Johnny freaking
Billy
Law.
Padula.
Johnny Law, who's in Fort Wayne right now.
Many others.
Okay. Yeah, all right. I'll take that back. Sorry, Paul. I was trying to help you out, Paul.
Maybe
and I was
maybe
like
Paul
chastised by
maybe if he would become a sponsor.
Yeah, Paul. Why don't we take
funny
out a
the way
couple
you said
ads,
it.
and then I could properly.
Then Tom can really pump you up.
This is Paul Strachey. What he said. Disappointed but not surprised that a grand jury entirely directed by the prosecutor was able to return an indictment. It's clear that the prosecution has turned a blind eye to the overtly political nature of this investigation, Strachey said. We look forward to demonstrating Sheriff Martinez's innocence before an impartial jury in a format in which both sides get to participate equally. That's a true story. I mean, you can't participate equally. And
I'm really interested to see how this plays out and how to. I'm really curious to see when the trial date's set. That's what I want to see.
If I was the sheriff, I would say, let's go.
Let's go tomorrow.
I want the speedy trial, right?
Well, because I mean, he's got a primary.
So his problems are twofold. If he gets convicted of a felony, he loses his office automatically. And even if he thinks he's going to be confident in this case, the criminal case, he still has to deal with the primary.
Right. So it's better to get it done and over with one way or the other.
I had a friend facing a similar situation in a political race. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
Ron Mears, Michigan City mayor.
That's right.
Michigan City mayor had a political type of indictment, similar state, right before his election.
But it was so close. There was no way it was going to get resolved. Before
Exactly.
the primary.
Exactly.
That's
it was
the difference.
It was a week before
It was
election
like 2
day.
weeks or April.
Right.
It was in
2 weeks
April.
before election day.
Yep.
No, it was in
Oh,
November.
it was November. You're right. It was late
It was
October.
like late October. Right before election day, he gets indicted, and I was trying to counsel him through the situation. And
see, this has got a little bit more wiggle room and that wiggle
He
room
does.
meaning that
You're right.
there's time. Like
time is on the sheriff's side.
Well,
because
in the
he
sense
has
that he
rights.
can push it.
He has rights under the Constitution for a speedy trial, and I imagine he wants this resolved stat, right?
see how the judge's calendar is to get him in.
All right, I got one quick mailbag, or do you want to bounce it?
Go mailbag. We'll do ads, and then because I think the
This is-
mailbag's going to lead right into
It
Ryan
does
as
sort
well.
of. It does sort of. This is interesting timing on the mailbag too. Mailbag, John.
Mailbag.
He's like firing germs all over the office when he does it. You know?
Gross.
It's like a machine
He's
gun.
closer to Lindsay, though.
It's like germs flying all over.
Oh.
Those two germy folks over there are
That's
gonna
true.
germ each other.
This is
This
from.
is how you talk to somebody who was on her deathbed a week ago.
We did wish you well though.
I heard
she had
that,
strep.
yes, I appreciate it.
or something like that.
That we suspect.
Strap. I mean, some.
Could have been
Who knows?
anything.
It's
really.
going
Let's be
around.
honest. This is from Felix G. I'm a resident of Hammond. Presently, I am struggling not only to get through the holidays, but just to support my family. This is due to the use of marijuana for my many ailments. I failed a random drug test, and now in order to return to work, I need to complete a 10-week drug rehabilitation program, which not only I am having trouble getting into, but I believe those resources should be reserved for people that are really sick. My addiction to marijuana is as serious as any addiction to pizza. I am a good person. I go to work every day, abide by the rules, support my family and friends and all that they do, help where I can, treat everybody with respect, kindness, pay it for, blah, 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 blah. All right. I know I'm not the only person this happened to, but just one more reason that the legislation for marijuana is so important. I sort of skipped through
Legalization,
part
right?
of
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
but it just goes to show you that people
Yeah,
are,
legalization. I apologize.
people are impacted by this every day,
yeah, this is
depending on which state you live in.
And this, it's a really sad story for Felix. I hope everything works out for you, bud.
All right, let's get to ads. Mayor, lead us off.
Sure. Executive Suites.
Oh, by the way, after these ads, we're going to be back with Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears.
Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears up next. Let's get through these 4 ads, and we'll be right back. Executive Suite Squared, commonly known as ES2, is a first-class executive office environment located on I-8094 at Kennedy Avenue. ES2 offers flexible membership plans that provide the privacy of dedicated, fully furnished offices with 24/7 secured access. So no matter how big or small your business may be, they can accommodate the way you work. For more information on their basic or private membership packages, or to rent one of their state-of-the-art conference rooms, call them at 219-844-2901 or visit them at executivesuites2.com. This is
That's a rewrite. See, rewrote what didn't wasn't
still
a lot
pretty rough.
easier.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have.
You're going to get it down.
I don't think anyone says I-8094. I think that was part of the
8094.
It's 8094.
I agree.
Yeah.
But
gotta
by
get
the
rid
way,
of
this is like a
on it.
WeWork kind of situation, right?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah,
I
I've
mean, I
been
know
to it.
John's familiar with it, and it's really, really neat. I mean,
Yeah,
they've
it
got
is.
that great, right, John? I mean,
It's beautiful inside. Yep.
beautiful lobby. You can hang out, go to your suite, come back out. Very cool place. Check it out.
All right.
Class A office building.
Why don't you do that, dude?
Sure. Challenger Learning Center.
It's like, are you giving them another
I know,
ad, Kevin?
It's like, come
I
on,
like
let's
to
go.
pump up our new
I know,
advertisers.
dude. You're like, there's a certain point when it's time to move on. We got our
All
ghost
right.
waiting.
Sorry,
You
ES2.
want to? Yeah, I mean, we did.
Challenger Learning Center. This Valentine's Day, embark on a date night like no other to create a love connection for a lonely Mars rover.
I should take Marissa there.
Join Challenger.
We could walk.
Join Challenger Learning Center.
Just touch the right button
just
this
like
time, Tom.
Yeah, that's nice.
Just walk down your snowy street over to Purdue Northwest.
Holding
and
hands on
a romantic
Valentine's Day.
Yes. Join Challenger Learning Center on Saturday, February 12th from 5 to 8 p.m. A brand new Red Planet Romance event with dinner and drinks presented by Byway Brewery. Register today at clcnwi.com.
Calumet Brewery. Let's get the new year started with a Michelob Ultra. Ultra has on. Lindsay, where you been? Where
That
you been,
soundboard
Lindsay?
is
Where you
just
been, Lindsay?
up and running,
Yeah,
isn't it, John?
Thanks for your dedication to the pod, John. Ultra has only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories, so it's sure to keep your resolutions in check while continuing to be one of the fastest growing brands nationally and in the region. Take your resolutions to the next level and try organic light lager with only 2.5 carbs and 85 calories. Ultra Pure Gold is brewed for your healthy lifestyle. That's right. Check out calbrew.com or Cal Brew's Facebook page for brand info and giveaways. Cheers with beers.
Hold on, Kevin.
Yes.
So chat. So the season premiere airs Tuesday.
Yep.
This goes into Tom's comment saying thank you for your commitment.
It was nice. I agree.
So Tuesday, it was like an hour after the pod aired. Tom sends a text like, "The pod isn't up on
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And I know you said WTF.
Yeah, he said WTF. I'm like, dude,
I got a job, man. I got a job.
All right, whatever.
Anyway,
Grisolia's Concrete was voted #1 in the Times Best of the Region 2020 and 2021. Grisolia's Concrete specializes in all of your concrete projects, and they've been using the original cement finish in the
California style.
It's back. You're
I
easing
gotta
into
get
it.
into it. I
You're
gotta
easing
get
into it.
It's been a while.
It's only episode 2.
maybe we can get Ryan to do it.
Since 1972, and also offers stamped and colored concrete. Call now, 219-659-4127 to get your project lined up for the spring with Grisolia's Concrete. Thank you to our sponsors, including our premier sponsor, Powering America.
And ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about this gentleman for a long time. We're very proud to introduce to you the Marion County Prosecutor, his first appearance on Lockpod, Season 5, Episode 2. This is Ryan Mears. How's it going, Mr. Prosecutor?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate you being on here. It's interesting timing. Lake County never seems to disappoint the political observers across the state. You ever hear of situations like this, the one we were talking about earlier, Ryan?
Well, certainly not with the sitting sheriff. That's certainly a unique situation. But I'm certainly familiar with asking for a special prosecutor to handle politically sensitive cases or cases where there's a close relationship between law enforcement and the prosecutor's office. So you think it's appropriate to ask for a special prosecutor.
Ryan, how often do cases that are handled in the Marion County Prosecutor's Office go to grand jury, and like a percentage basis versus just by way of information?
Well, percentage basis, it's incredibly small. So right now, for instance, in Marion County, we have 37,000 pending cases in Marion County. And out of those 37,000 pending cases, probably 5
Really?
went to a grand jury.
Why would you go to a grand jury? Just because it's close, or?
Most of the cases that we send to the grand jury are self-defense cases. So you have situations where, it's based on reasonableness, and the community kind of defines what is reasonable. And so it's usually a good opportunity. Let's present this to 6 random people from the community, and let's get their thoughts in terms of whether or not they think self-defense was appropriate or justified or not. I think the other time that you have a situation where it's appropriate to use a grand jury is also when you have maybe reluctant witnesses or witnesses who are concerned about maybe being fronted out in a probable cause affidavit or a police report. Because the grand jury is secret, you don't know who testified, you don't know what that person says. So that's another reason to potentially take a case through the grand jury.
There you go. Interesting.
Wow. I'm a huge fan. Ryan and I have gotten to know each other very well over the past year, and I think he's doing a great job. You came onto the scene in a big way right off the bat. Really, you were caucused in, right?
Yes.
What I'm trying.
When's your next election, by the way?
This year.
22.
22. So you're on the ballot now.
I'll be riding Senator McDermott's coattails.
That's right. I'm riding Prosecutor Ryan's coattails, so it's mutual. But so you came in after the untimely passing of our previous prosecutor in Marion County, right?
Yeah. Yes. Terry had to step aside for health reasons, and then I was caucused in, and generated a fair amount of attention because one of the first things that I did was we made the decision to no longer prosecute simple possession of marijuana cases.
What's the effect of that? And you did, you made huge waves across the state of Indiana, and you came under fire. I remember, and obviously it caught my attention right off the bat because I don't believe you and I, and if we'd met, we didn't know each other well, but I was like, who is this guy? What a ballsy move. Like right off the bat, right? I mean, so did you come under fire from fellow prosecutors or, any federal officials, anything like that, like saying, hey, you should think about this?
Well, certainly there's many prosecutors across the state who were not supportive of the decision, and were actually pretty aggressive in terms of expressing their displeasure with the choice that we made. But I was completely comfortable with the decision that we made because it was the right thing to do. And, when we looked at what was the basis for why we made this decision, we have unique challenges in Marion County that don't necessarily apply to the rest of the state. And when I looked at who was ultimately being prosecuted for possession of marijuana cases, I looked at the racial disparities that existed in terms of who actually uses marijuana and who ends up in the criminal justice system. You cannot ignore that reality, and you cannot ignore those facts. And so that's why I was so comfortable making that decision. And certainly there's people who have not been supportive of the position that we've taken. But I got to tell you, the vast majority of people I've run into in Marion County and around the state, almost everybody has a story to share with me about someone who would benefit from marijuana no longer being criminalized, whether it's for physical health reasons, mental health reasons, and everything in between. There's a lot of people out there who do use marijuana, who are productive members of our community, and by stigmatizing and criminalizing them, there's not really a benefit on public safety. And it takes a lot of people out of the economy. And I think now more than ever, we need as many people working as possible.
Like that guy, I just read his letter in Mailbag. He has to go through this whole process now because he was caught on a random drug screen,
Ryan, I was going to read, if I could, one of the quotes from your press conference on this. And you said, "I've been a prosecutor for 12 years. I have the experience of seeing what causes violent crime. And over the course of 12 years, I can tell you small amounts of marijuana is not our problem." Is that, does that kind of echo? I mean, that's 2 years ago now, right? 2.5 years ago that you made this decision. I was just curious, how has the law enforcement folks that may have been against it in the beginning, are they still against it? Do you still have that friction, or do you think that your policy has actually produced results?
Well, I think it's definitely produced results, and everything's about priorities, and not everything can be a priority. And, when you talk to the street officer, the last thing that they want to do is be tied up for 45 minutes on a dime bag of weed. There's more important things for them to be doing. They don't want to fill out the paperwork. They don't want to transport the drugs down to the property room. There's a lot of other things that they'd like to be doing. And so from the street officer and the people who actually have to do the work, I think there's a lot of support for this policy because they understand that their time is valuable and that their time would be better spent doing other things.
I think that goes for your staff as well also, right, Mr. Prosecutor? Your staff doesn't have to worry about the cases that come up, the jail space that was taken up. I mean, there's
judicial
so many
resources.
Judicial resources. It saves so many people up and down the line.
Oh my goodness! I mean, we've literally redeployed prosecutors. We've dismissed hundreds of possession of marijuana cases when I made the decision, and I took 2 prosecutors that were handling those marijuana cases, and they are now detailed specifically to violent crime.
Yeah,
think about that.
And addressing violent crime, and that's where our focus should be.
That's right.
And it's the courts, it's the public defender, it's the prosecutor, but it's also our crime lab. Right now we have a huge backup at our crime lab, which is responsible for testing all the firearms, doing DNA testing, and doing lab results for all our DUI cases, all our drug cases. And I'd rather know, hey, do I need to charge this person with a DUI where someone was seriously injured, as opposed to figuring out, is this dime bag of marijuana truly marijuana? And so it's really just about priorities. And also let's free up our resources and direct them to the areas where we think we can have the biggest impact on public safety.
One of the things we have to do also, if as marijuana becomes more and more, acceptable, mainstream, is just like we have with alcohol, there has to be a limit where you can't get stoned and drive your car all over the place. That's got to be, and one of the weaknesses right now, and I don't know if we've made progress. I was talking to my officers just the other day, in fact, and they said they have a test that they could do to tell if you're under the influence of marijuana now.
We just don't know what the level is.
Yeah, they just don't know, and that's the problem. Is did you smoke a week ago? And if you smoked a week ago, are you going to be positive on this test?
In other words, what's the correlation? What's the correlation number between 0.08 when you're drinking and level of THC, right, or something like that? So.
And that's the area that's why it's so important for the legislature to act on this issue. You guys are right on the border, so there's a lot of people who are legally consuming marijuana if they cross the street, and then when they come back over into Indiana, now are we going to criminalize them? Even though they might not necessarily be under the influence, it still might be in their system. And that's where the legislature needs to provide better guidance and figure out what's that equivalent of 0.08 for marijuana. so all of us can, move forward in a responsible fashion. I don't think any of us are advocating we want people driving impaired. That's not what we're saying at all. But you can have marijuana in your system, and it could be smoking from maybe last week, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're impaired.
That's right.
And I think that's an area where the legislature could help us out and help clarify that. Especially when you look at what has happened in our border communities.
Would it be, I was wondering about this, Ryan, you've obviously taken the position that we just talked about not prosecuting new simple possession cases less than 1 ounce. Would it be within your discretion to deal with past convictions of simple possession and determine that those should be expunged or vacated? Is that within the prosecutor's realm of discretion if you wanted to take that step? Not asking that you are, but
so that's one of the things that we're working on right now. And one of the things that we do, not only for possession of marijuana cases, but we do second chance fairs where we actually partner up with nonprofits to help people get convictions taken off people's records, because I think it's an obligation of the prosecutor's office to help people get those records expunged. I'm hopeful that in legislation that's being presented this year that they will make that expungement process more automatic for folks who had those prior either arrests or convictions for possession of marijuana.
That's great.
Mr. Mayor, if you're interested, here in the future, we're actually going to do in a second chance event that is specifically dedicated to the issue of expunging people's prior marijuana convictions and prior marijuana arrests. Because again, I don't think people should be stigmatized for having this possession. And there's a lot of collateral consequences to those convictions. It can impact people's ability to get housing. It can impact people's ability to get financial aid. And it can impact a person's ability to get a job, because a lot of times employers just look, is it a felony, not what's the underlying crime. And so we want to be proactive on that issue. So we definitely put a lot of time, energy, and effort into that because it's important.
I want to change gears a little bit here. Another amazing thing about Ryan is when he became prosecutor, it was news in itself, right, Mr. Prosecutor? You weren't supposed to win, right?
Yeah, I was the underdog.
Because in Marion County, they have a slating process, and I'm friends with the chairwoman, Kate Sweeney Bell, and I was friends with the last chairman. I'm friends with the mayor. I'm friends with the prosecutor. But it's interesting because Kevin and I have observed Marion County politics my entire career, right?
Yeah.
And usually they have a slating process that's, I always thought it was impossible if you were the underdog to win, and Ryan was the non-chosen candidate at that time, and you were successful, right?
Yeah, it was an interesting process to go through, but I think the great thing about the slating process and the Democratic Party as a whole is people are always willing to listen, and we really took our message directly to the people. I literally went door to door to have conversations with people and let them know not only about my experiences but what I'm about, and it was really positive conversations, and it was a positive experience. But I think also the great thing about Democrats is afterwards we can all come together and work together to confront whatever issues might exist in our community. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a great team down in Marion County, a lot of really good public officials down there working hard. And if anything, like the mayor just said, our impression of Marion County politics and slating process was always like it was a done deal. But I think this, your win there shows that the slating process is important. I'm sorry, the caucus process is important, and the precinct people do listen to people that are up there, and they want to hear what they have to say. And if given a chance, they vote in who they think is going to be the best person. So, congrats.
Well, thank you very much. And like I said, now I get to be on the ballot again in 22 with Senator McDermott.
That's right. Thank you, sir. And when I was the Lake County chairman, I had a similar type of process where I always supported the incumbents, and then I would have a challenger complaining about the process. Like, it's not fair that you always support the incumbents, Mr. Chairman. And I'm like, if you become elected, you'll appreciate this rule. And when they get in there, they're like, I really like this rule you have, Mr. Chairman. And I think that Ryan's going to be, and I know for a fact, because the chairwoman Kate Sweeney and I had this conversation, and she's like, we're gonna endorse Ryan, we're gonna push him hard, and which is great for everybody because you're a great candidate. And like I said, nobody appreciates that rule until they become the office holder like you are right now.
Absolutely. Ryan, I want to bring up an issue that really kind of an interesting issue to us up here as well. Well, first of all, the mayor and I are big fans of the Daily, so you're the first person we know that was on the New York Times Daily podcast. So congratulations about that.
That's a great pod. I mean, obviously it's a step up when you're on Lockpod compared to the New York Times, podcast. But
so there was a tragedy in April of 2021 down in Indianapolis, and that's the FedEx mass shooting. And something that came out of that event was kind of a deep dive into red flag laws in Indiana and red flag laws around the state. And a question came up to you and is addressed in that podcast about whether or not the red flag laws as stated in Indiana would have helped or prevented that from occurring. And I think your perspective on that in that pod and just in the things I read was really interesting. And I was hoping you could maybe talk about that a little bit, like what a red flag law is and how you think it impacted or didn't impact that event.
Well, I think the biggest thing for people to understand is it's not a gun control law. It's not a law that's designed to serve as gun control. And I think it's really interesting that anyone would think in the state of Indiana that gun control would be a priority of this legislature. Right now, they're looking to repeal possession of a handgun license. And so I think that's the most important thing for people to understand. The purpose of that law is, hey, we have someone who's dangerous right now or who's going through a mental health episode. Let's take this gun from that person right now. That's what the law is designed to do. It's not designed to prevent anything necessarily moving forward in the future. And it's unfortunate because, we had a case literally just this week where there's an individual who was arrested on the Circle who was found to be a dangerous person who was in possession of a firearm and was able to secure a firearm. And, our only remedy now is to charge that person with an A misdemeanor. It's just a wholly inadequate remedy to one of the challenges that we face, which is gun violence in our community. And so, we're always cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to move forward legislatively and hopefully have laws that I think give prosecutors more tools at their disposal. But it's a real challenge here in Indiana because, I think there's a lot of people who have pretty strong beliefs about gun rights and what that encompasses. And this issue kind of encapsulates all those different arguments and issues.
Yeah, I think, in that incident, there was the facts were, at least what were reported were that this person who ended up being the mass shooting individual and the person that caused this, terrible event, that his mother had gone to, I think, the police and said that he's a danger, he's got weapons. And what you said, at least from what I read, was that you decided not to use the red flag law because of the tight deadlines and constraints on evidence gathering and what's required, and that if you lost, guess what? I think you said, guess what happens? The gun goes right back to him. And so can you explain kind of why the red flag law would not have worked in that situation?
Yeah, I think the biggest concern for us is let's make sure that we keep the firearm. That's the biggest thing is no one wants to ever return a firearm. And so, I mean, that was part of the challenge for us is we want to make sure that we're not ever in the business of giving guns back to people. And so that's one of the things that was kind of the overriding concern for us is to make sure that we were in a position to hold on and confiscate that firearm, which we were able to do through an agreement essentially or effectively with the individual who was involved.
Awesome. Well, that's an interesting issue, and I appreciate you addressing it with us. Tell us about kind of like your priorities moving forward as you go into election year, because I know this is an election year for you, and I know it's important, obviously, for you to get reelected to keep on with your policies. I'd like to know kind of what are the things that are on the top of your list moving forward.
Well, one of the biggest things is violent crime. Is we have to make sure that we're in a position to hold individuals accountable who commit violent crime, and we had one of our highest conviction rates on murder trials ever this year, and I'm very proud of the work that both IMPD, our law enforcement partners did, as well as the prosecutor's office. But it's also important that we're fair prosecutors and we treat everybody fairly and equitably. And I think the marijuana policy is a perfect example of that. But we've also tried to expand that to other areas. We were one of the first prosecutors' offices to partner up with the Boys and Girls Club. We're not prosecuting kids for low-level nonviolent offenses. We're paying for them to go to the Boys and Girls Club. Let's get them in a positive environment. Let's get them around positive adults, as opposed to just putting them on probation and stigmatizing them with a conviction. We're really trying to do things to hopefully give kids an opportunity Because what we have found is that when you give young people hope and opportunity, they do not commit crime. The other thing that we have found is that when you get people working, they're not in the criminal justice system. And so we work really hard on expungements, and we work really hard to help people get their driver's licenses restored. We literally set aside thousands of tickets, thousands of dollars in terms of monetary value to get people driving on the road legally again. Because I met too many good people, and a lot of these people happen to be people of color who have been pulled over for small traffic offenses. They get a ticket, they don't have the money to pay the ticket, and then their license gets suspended. There's no bearing or impact on public safety.
Right.
And those individuals are now taken out of the workforce because they can't drive legally. And so we work with those individuals to get them working because, again, if we have people working on the job, they're not going to be committing violent crime, and their chance of contact with the criminal justice system drops dramatically.
So, Ryan, you were a high school basketball star, right?
I don't know about star.
I mean, you played college basketball. I mean, you had to be damn good. Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Cardinal Ritter on the west side, and then I went to the Catholic university in the region, St. Joseph's College there in Rensselaer. I know you're a Notre Dame grad,
I am, but
I think you're second place to St. Joseph's.
That's right. We were all real sad, obviously, when the school closed. It's
a lot of friends that went there.
A lot of friends that went there,
yeah.
and a lot of people that raised money for it. Chris Aquilaris among them. I mean, it's a so you come out. You were recruited to go to St. Joseph's in that case.
Yeah, I was fortunate to get an opportunity to go to St. Joe's and had a great experience up there.
How were you guys a good basketball team?
We were okay.
Yeah. What was your position?
A small forward. I could shoot it a little bit. I was not a great athlete, still not a great athlete, but I could shoot it a little bit.
You know, that's one of my glaring weaknesses as a candidate for statewide office in Indiana is I stink at basketball. It's like my biggest fear. I was with the Indy Star reporter, and I took him to the Sportsplex, and one of the people in there threw a basketball to me, and I'm like, "You jerk!" And then I airballed it, of course. And I'm a decent athlete, Ryan. I just suck at basketball. It's horrible. I'm really embarrassed.
Yeah, we can work with you on
that.
There
you go.
Just aware,
You've got a new coach.
It's a skill.
Ryan and I are going to work.
We'll coach you up. You'll be good.
Dude, if I tried to dribble it, I'd bounce it off my foot and the ball would go rolling away.
That would not be a good video.
I agree. That's why I have to hide from that. Whenever somebody wants me to play basketball, I'm just like, hey, why don't we play catch? I'll play some baseball with you.
That's right. Let's go bowling.
Let's go bowling. And so college, and then after college, did you always know you wanted to be a lawyer?
Yeah. Well, I always thought I was going to play in the NBA, and then when that didn't happen, I decided I needed to fall back on something. So I went to law school, and I always knew I wanted to be involved in public service, and so I've had basically every job in the prosecutor's office and kind of worked my way up from the entry level position up to being the prosecutor, and really wasn't a political person at all. It was just that commitment to public service and wanting to be involved in public service, and then things kind of aligned for me, and here I am talking to left of center, so I'm feeling pretty good about life.
So you never even really practiced outside of being a prosecutor. You just went right out of law school right into the prosecutor's office.
Yeah, I took 1 year.
It's no wonder you won. It's no wonder you won. You were built for this job.
Yeah, and I like that the experience does matter, especially when you're talking about these issues of violent crime and homicide cases and making decisions on, what's an appropriate resolution where someone's lost their life. I mean, I think it's really important that person have a working understanding of the prosecutor's office, of the law. And, I've tried as many murder cases as any elected prosecutor in the state. And I'm proud of that because, I think you're only as good as your experiences. And I have the experience of actually being the person standing up in the courtroom saying, this is why someone needs to be found guilty. And I think that's a really important message to send to the people that I work with, but also to the community as a whole of I'm not just talking about it, I'm about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because, I know the mayor always talks about the fact that, like, his police chiefs are the kind of people that go around in the squad car still, and they still pull people over. And I think from your perspective, right, I can't imagine how many supervisors or courtrooms you're dealing with down in Marion County, but I assume that it helps when you're talking to a supervisor or a trial, prosecutor, or trial attorney, like, hey, I've been there. I know what you're going through. I can relate to this.
Absolutely, and I mean, there's no better teacher than experience. And so when people come to you with challenges, hey, we have this issue on this case, chances are I've experienced that firsthand, and that can, number one, help me find a solution to whatever the issue is, but also be sympathetic and empathetic to what that prosecutor is going through and understanding the challenge that they're facing. And so I feel like it makes me uniquely positioned to handle some of the issues that we just face on a day-to-day basis that hopefully allows us to be in a position to make intelligent decisions on how to proceed on cases.
You know, as a sports fan, I've been kind of watching over your shoulder and trying to figure out. I see the Wrigley Field thing.
Yeah,
So I know the mayor's happy about
Field.
that. What's the hoops photo?
That's Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So I got,
It's the college shot.
I got Jordan winning the championship and Jackie Robinson stealing home here, and then Wrigley Field right there.
It says a lot about you, man. I can't see.
Yeah, and you can't see it. I got Gail Sayers right there.
Oh,
Nice,
So,
very nice. So does that?
Hey, man,
I mean,
Cubs, Bears, that's pretty solid.
be careful
Yeah,
though.
Bulls?
He's up for election. Bulls or Pacers? I mean, what do
Of
you,
course, Pacers.
Yeah, so I was born in Chicago, and my parents, raised me as Bulls, Bears, and Cubs fans.
No
and now
wonder
I've got
we
a
like each
4-year-old.
other.
Yeah. Now I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, so I'm falling back into being a Pacers
go.
fan.
Yeah, good for you. You got to.
And so we go to games and my kids love it. But it's been fun to see the Bulls
they're coming back.
rebound this
That was
year
a
and be good again.
great game over New Year's with that DeRozan shot down in
Oh, my
Indianapolis.
goodness.
That was good. Game winner. It was
Yeah.
good. Well,
That's the shot you need to work on, Mr. Mayor. Do that
The one leg.
1 foot 3-pointer. Yeah,
I got it. I'm gonna hit a 3-pointer before this campaign is over. So
Ryan, before we wrap it up,
I could take Todd Young though. That guy's uncoordinated.
I would think so. And speaking of which, Ryan, I did want to talk about that a little bit. Obviously you've mentioned it a couple times. The mayor's on the ballot, or soon will be, to run against Todd Young after he gets through the primary for U.S. Senate. And I was just wondering, as you've got to know Mayor Tom, why do you think he's going to be good for Indiana in the Senate?
Well, number one, I appreciate his attitude on issues like marijuana and his willingness to come forward and say, hey, this is a really important issue to our community and to the people, the everyday working people of the state of Indiana. This is a priority for them. And so let's talk about it and let's move forward with legislation. I think the other issue that everybody needs to be aware of is Roe versus Wade is very likely to be overturned. And I think it's very important that we have someone who's willing to defend women's rights.
That's right.
And, I think when we talk about a woman's right to choose, it's not only that ability to be able to choose, but the Republicans always go too far. It's one thing to administratively make it difficult to have that right to choose. But what they do is they criminalize it. They go too far and they want to make criminals out of doctors and women. And that's why we need people like the mayor in there in a position to stand up and fight on those issues. I can tell you as a prosecutor, there's a lot of really bad laws in the state of Indiana where that are currently on the books that criminalize doctors, that criminalize women for making these choices about health care. We can't criminalize health care. And I just feel very fortunate and comfortable to have someone who I know who's going to stand up for working people, working men and women, but also protect people's ability and right to choose. And I think we all agree that let's stay out of people's healthcare decisions and let's let doctors and women make those choices, not a bunch of people in Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you do for Hoosiers. I appreciate what you do for the residents of Marion County. I think you're excellent, and I'm looking forward to campaigning with you next year. I appreciate you coming on Lockpot very much.
Well, thank you for having me. And I got to tell you, you're very popular in my neighborhood. So
nice.
You're doing well in Indianapolis. And I got a lot of texts when people knew I was going to be on here. So happy to be on
Good to
here.
see you, sir.
And hopefully we can spread the word.
Yes, sir. I'll see you on the campaign trail. Thanks,
Good to see you,
Ryan.
Ryan. Thank
It's
you.
Ryan Mears,
Cheers.
Marion County Prosecutor. Thank you very much. Wow.
Very cool.
That was cool. Good job,
A lot
John.
of stuff
By
to
the way,
cover.
I always bang on John. John, that went very well, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, we were
took
just
my
talking about
breath
your
away.
dedication to the
It took
pod.
my breath away.
And now look. Now you're the star
I
again.
love
You're
you,
the
John.
darling.
John, that was
The
perfect.
darling of Lockpot.
That was perfect.
Dad likes
great.
you more than me right now. That's amazing.
No, you're my baby. You're my baby.
Wrap us up.
I'm not a
John's
baby.
not my baby. I just wanted to say, man. You have to admit.
You're not.
You
his
have to
baby.
admit that was solid, man. We pulled him in. We look very professional.
You'd
nice.
think
The
we knew it.
freaking-
You would think we knew what we were doing.
The
here at
caboose was
Lockpot.
on his game, bringing up red flag laws. And all
Yeah,
that,
it was
man.
interesting. We did our homework.
It's almost as if he's a lawyer.
I know.
Once in a
Sometimes
while.
I forget. I like the last episode. I'm like, I'm going to find the best lawyer I could find.
I said, "Don't look over here."
Yeah, by the way, I appreciate our audience very much. I'm so glad we're back on the air. I was
it's
lost.
fun.
I was lost for a period of 6 weeks.
Well, they're just. there's definitely a time right at the end of each season where we're like, man, we need a break.
out.
Yeah, we need a break. But now I'm like, I had so much fun on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And fun today.
But and by the way,
all fresh.
one of the cool things about going away for a long time is all the funny crap that happens.
Oh, God.
And I write it in my phone, so
We've
I won't
got
forget
material.
I got material, like the
for
whole
at
thing.
least 4 episodes.
Lindsay, did you hear the story about when I accidentally slapped some ladies?
What?
Lower back. Yeah, you gotta listen to our
She didn't
episodes every once in a while.
Lindsay's like, I've been sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you didn't have any time to listen to Lockpod. Right?
I was doing my finals before that.
She's like,
too.
I only appear on Lockpod.
I don't listen.
I know.
I'm not a
listen
subscriber.
I'm here to
Lockpod.
grace you with my presence.
I'm only here
not
to appear.
listen.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
He
go
touched
ahead.
the butt of another woman on X. Slapped, actually.
It was not a slap. It was like a touch.
Tap.
Father.
But it was Marissa's
A
fault.
love tap.
It was Marissa's fault.
It was. We do blame Marissa.
Marissa
for
can't
that.
be sneaking off like that.
She
has to-
abandoned you.
She totally left me. It's not my fault. It's Marissa's fault.
Yeah.
So, by the way, Lindsay, I completely went to pieces when I realized what I did, and it was obvious I was not
Yikes.
being a creeper. I was like,
Even the alleged victim
Where was this?
She was
knew
laughing.
knew you were.
it was
knew
in
you
a
were-
crowded
knew it was a big
fundraiser.
mistake.
I was at
Oh,
Lorenzo
no.
Arendando's fundraiser. Yeah.
Oh,
We don't need to talk about it again.
okay.
you brought it up. You brought
I'm
this
just
up.
surprised my daughter's not listening to our Lockpod.
Are you
know?
really though?
I
Are you
am.
really
I
that
am.
surprised?
I am surprised. So,
I listen for the parts you guys talk about me, and then I skip
And you're
forward.
yep.
Forward 30
Yep.
seconds. Forward
Yeah.
30 seconds.
Where's my name? Where's my name? They
Yeah.
don't mention me at all. I'm not listening to the rest.
All right, guys. I appreciate everybody being here. Good job today, Kevin.
Lot of
With
fun.
the great research and a great interview of Ryan Mears, notorious LMP. Good to see you back, baby. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
And, of course, Jay Vez, the technical expert, the whiz, the man behind the curtain. Good job,
Nice.
John Vesmar.
Thank
And
you.
coming from the Locomotive, we'll be back on Tuesday. We have a guest on Tuesday,
Not necessarily.
but 1 week from today, we have a good guest.
Oh yeah. You want to
Also, another
Yes.
good guest, right? Destiny Scott Wells.
just
who's-
announced
Last night.
for Secretary of State.
That's
Whoa.
1 week from today, she's actually going to be in studio. She's driving
No
up to
way.
the region. Yeah, she's driving to the region to
Wow.
appear on Left of Center, kicking off her Secretary of State campaign. And
I mean, she's got
if
a
you
tour
don't
of the
know
state.
Destiny, she just got out of the Army. Like literally, I think like a month ago.
Mom, Army veteran,
Wife.
tough as
Campaigner.
nails, man.
And I want her to be Indiana's next Secretary of
I
State.
do too.
So she's going to be in studio. I'm looking forward to that. And if you want to meet a badass woman that's running for statewide office, tune in next Friday. But we'll be back
In the
Tuesday
meantime,
before
tune
that.
in Tuesday as well.
That's right. So anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Stay
Left of
warm.
Center.